Okay, welcome back. In this module, we are going to do a quick overview on inviting. I'm also going to cover the 6 tiers of exposures. And in all of the modules we're going to do on inviting, I want you to pay attention more to these modules on the invitation skills really than anything else. And if I had to look back in my career in network marketing, especially when I was first getting started, first getting started having success in network marketing, if there's one thing I'm really glad I got good at, it was inviting, because I was not a good presenter. In fact, I was afraid to speak in public. I never wanted to get on stage, and I ended up getting to a 6-figure income. In fact, before I ever presented to a large organization. It was a little bit crazy, but what happened was I got really good at inviting. And so most people wanted to be presentation man. You know, they couldn't wait to get on stage and present. I could care less. In fact, I didn't want to get on stage. I just wanted to get butts in the seats. And because I got good at getting butts in the seats, I ended up getting to a 6-figure income. And the first time I ever spoke on stage, I was earning 6 figures. We had almost 400 people in the room, and my mentor, who was the one who would always present, him or a couple other people would present, I always backed out of it, and he finally made me. I argued with him, and well, he won out. But because I got good at that, it allowed me to end up having a lot of success. Most people would have no guests or one guest, and I would consistently have multiple guests. I would have as many as 10 guests at one opportunity presentation. And so here's the thing. You can be bad at closing. You can be really bad at presenting. You can be bad at following up. You can even be bad at getting new members started. But if you show the business to enough people, you're going to enroll enough people to find the leaders that are going to run with it. There's the old saying, if you throw enough mud against a wall, some of it is going to stick. Now, I'm not saying ignore those other areas. Don't. Get good in all of it. Get mastery in all of it. But if there's one that is the most critical, it is inviting. It is the gateway skill. So I want to address, first off, the need for credibility. A lot of people really feel like they have to have a lot of credibility if they can get good in inviting. Otherwise, people won't listen to you. And listen, when I got to a 6-figure income, I had no credibility. I learned to use other people's credibility so that I could get my own. In fact, when I got to a 6-figure income, I had been living at home with my mother. I was working at Saltgrass Steakhouse. I did not drive a nice car. I had nothing going on for me, but what my mentor told me to do, and I just believed him, he said, I want you to sell my credibility, sell my story so you can develop your own. And that's what I did very, very quickly. I learned to sell his story. And then before long, I had other people in my organization, they were selling my story so they could create their own. And so my mentor, he asked me one day, he said, what's the number one thing that we sell in network marketing? And, I was like, it's time freedom. It's residual income. Is it our product? He's saying, no, that's not it. And, I'm like, finally, I give up. What is it? And he said, here's the biggest thing that we sell is an hour of time. An hour of time to get someone to look at our opportunity. If there's one thing that you want to get good at selling, that's what we sell. And my philosophy really, when it comes to presenting your opportunity, I don't think that's something we necessarily have to sell. The more you sell, sometimes the more people run away from it. It's a sorting game more than it is a selling game. In fact, one of my early mentors, he said, professionals sort, amateurs sell. And so I'm going to cover the different tiers of exposure because there's a lot of different ways that you can invite someone to see the presentation. So before we get into a bunch of invitation scripts and so forth, I just wanted to do a quick overview on inviting and then talk about the different tiers of exposures. And the next module, I'm going to go through some fundamentals of the invitation process. But the first tier of exposure And the first tier of exposure down to the sixth tier, the number one would be typically the highest enrollment rate. And then number six would be the lowest enrollment rate. Now, every once in a while, you'll get someone who maybe just really, really good in person and they could skew the odds a little bit. But for the most people, most people, it's going to be the highest enrollment rate is going to be tier number one. Tier number one is the biggest meeting possible with the best presenter. Now, that might be a hotel presentation. It might be, you got a big shot coming into town and there's a bunch of people who are going to be there. And so what happens is when there's a lot of people in the room, it creates social proof. The guests, they come in and they feel the energy. They feel the excitement. They get to hear success stories. It can be emotional. The presenter typically is going to have the ability to really present the products or the services really well. They're going to be able to present the opportunity. Hopefully, they're going to be entertaining. They might be able to tell some jokes. They might be able to, kind of touch people emotionally. And it's going to be fun for people. They get to meet others. And so that environment is typically going to lead to the highest enrollment ratios. And so might be a little bit harder to invite someone to an event like that because it might be a hotel. It might be a little weird inviting someone to a hotel. It's a little bit different. So they're going to typically ask more questions. Hey, what is it? What are you inviting me to? And in the next couple modules, I'm going to talk about how you overcome what is it. And so that's the first tier of exposure. That's something that I definitely recommend you put in place. And, today, a lot of network marketers and even a lot of network marketing leaders have gone to, only doing webinars and, online stuff and things like that. And I just personally believe that there's no substitute for creating a social proof meeting. Not only does it allow for the highest enrollment ratio, but it also creates a bond. It creates culture within the team. And so I have, worked with leaders in my organization even who maybe they came from another company and they were used to doing webinars and, they wanted to get out of the hotel meeting or out of the in-person meeting game because, with all the people selling products and, MLM training online, you get all these guys who have really never built anything substantial and they're trying to sell you on, never have to go to a meeting again, the underwear entrepreneur and things like that. And so what I do, in fact, I'm thinking of one group specifically. I said, it's fine to do webinars. I'm not saying don't do them. In fact, do them, but you have to do this. I'm just telling you, lean on my leadership and put together those social proof meetings. And what happened is when these leaders came over, they started doing a lot of webinars. I mean, they were doing webinars almost every day. And, I really pushed them to start, at least once a week. And then they started a couple times a week. And then as they started opening up new cities and new markets, that caught on. And what ended up happening is they do almost no webinars now. And they do almost all meetings like that rather than the webinars because it just flat out works. And so as you develop your leadership skills, this is something you definitely want to have in your arsenal. Now, number two, the second tier of exposure is an in-home party. Now, an in-home party is usually going to have a pretty good enrollment ratio because, you're inviting people that people that you're close to, and an in-home presentation, some people call them PBRs, professional business receptions. Those are easy to invite people to. It's easy to invite someone to your home. In fact, I'm going to give you an invitation script that just flat out works like crazy. In-home presentations are very duplicatable. In fact, when people join my team, part of our system in getting a new member started is within their first week, we want them booking an in-home presentation. An in-home, we call it kind of a party. Why do we have new people do that? Because it's one of the easiest ways and most duplicatable ways to get someone started and launched in their business. Now, the third tier of exposure, this is something I have done thousands of these. Over my 20 years in network marketing, it is the 2-on-1. That is two people in the business presenting to one person who's not in the business. Now, there is a ton of power in the 2-on-1 because what happens is between you and your friend, you have trust. They know, like, and trust you, but you may not have a lot of credibility. That's why it's important to bring in a third party, someone else. And listen, it doesn't have to be someone who's making a ton of money in the business. It just really needs to be someone other than you, because your friend knows you. You know, chances are you've maybe done crazy things together. You may not have any credibility. If you do have credibility, it's probably not credibility relating to network marketing or your company. And so when you bring someone else in, what happens is if it's just you and your friends, sometimes they may not take you very seriously. But when you bring someone else in that's not you, that they don't know, they have to be on their best behavior. Now, there's another module on edification and the edification triangle. You know, make sure you listen to that module. Now, that's the third tier. You're going to have a pretty good enrollment ratios there because it answers the question, will you help me? Because they see that you're getting help, they're more likely to believe that they're going to get help as well. Now, the fourth tier of exposure is a one-on-one. You meeting someone at a coffee shop, something like that, meeting someone for lunch. That is probably the easiest invitation. It's very easy to get someone to meet with you for coffee. It's easy to get someone to meet you with you for lunch or something like that. I'm going to talk about invitation scripts for that. Tier number 5 is an invitation over the phone. Now, everything we've talked about so far is in person, belly to belly. That is just so strong when you can get together with someone in person. They can feel your energy. You can feel their energy. When you're meeting in person, they get that it's a real business. If you took the time to set up a meeting, to sit with them face to face, they get that it's real. They get that you are, it's important to you. And that's an important aspect, especially when we get into the modules on closing. I'll talk about that a lot more. Now, Tier number 5 again, over the phone. When you talk to someone who's typically not in your local market. Now, the majority of people that I've enrolled in my company that I'm involved, for instance, there's probably been half or even more than half that I enrolled over the phone. They weren't even in my city. They weren't even in my state. They may not have even been in my country. And so inviting someone over the phone to look at your presentation is tier number 5. And then number 6 is just anything else. This might be handing out a tool to a stranger. It might be giving someone a DVD or a CD, handing out a business card with a website on it, anything else. Now, your enrollment ratio is not going to be super high. If you're just, giving someone a DVD to watch on their own, obviously, if you don't have an appointment to follow up and things like that, your enrollment ratio is not going to be very high. But here's the thing. It is way better than nothing. I've had people that have joined my organization. In fact, I had a lady years ago, and crazy story. She saw a business card in a bathroom that was on a hand dryer. She picked it up and was curious. She went to the website and she saw that there was a members only login. And she said her main reason for enrolling was because she wanted to know what was in the private members area. So when you're out and about, I'm a big fan of having tools with you so that you can use that as an exposure. So those are the 6 tiers of exposures. Hopefully that got you some value. Definitely take notes on this. I want you to know this because Millionaire School is all about you having mastery in network marketing. And I just believe it's important for you to understand what the different tiers are so that you can utilize those effectively. Appreciate you listening in. We'll see you on the next module.